What's up, Recovery Soul Food podcast listeners and all the amazing folks that have been waiting to meet the Sober Experiment ladies, Alex and Lisa. I'm so grateful for them to be here with us today. And you know what? It's been a while since we've done an episode of the Recovery Soul Food podcast. Since they were on episode 2, I thought it only fitting to have my favorite sober ladies back in the house for this kind of even a new relaunch, because now we're going video as well as audio. So we're doing this live today. I hope that everyone will show up and show out for these ladies, show them what warriors look like over here with us, and just show them our love. You guys share this out. But I want to let you know that the Recovery Soul Food podcast is brought to you by our good friends at shoprecoverystuff.com. Hey, listen, if you want to shine your recovery light, if you want to wear your recovery out loud, then get over to shoprecoverystuff.com. Tell them LC sent you. Pick up the latest, most stylish apparel, jewelry, gifts, pretty much a little bit of everything, even COVID masks we got. So we can just clothe ourselves in all recovery, so there's no question. So get over to shoprecoverystuff.com. I love those people. Marty and Mark McLeod are just amazing. They are part of the reason that I sit here with you guys today and have the ability to do this. So without further ado, let's get into the Recovery Soul Food meets the Sober Experiment. What's up, ladies? What? Hey! I can't believe that I get to be here with all of you beautiful folks. You guys make me so happy. Just so happy to make me.
You made me all giddy. I was getting really giddy before, and I don't know why. She's like this next to me going, I'm going to go.
It makes me that way. I don't know what it is. That's the effect that you ladies have on me. I tell you, I just love your spirit is so great. It's so light. It's really just this happy, positive vibe. And you really stand in, you just stand in your voice. You stand in your power in a way that is extremely positive, that you tell your story in a way that's very honest with, the ability not to get stuck down in the sober of it, but actually be able to take yourselves less serious, which is such an amazing part of healing. I mean, come on, we got to be able to just lighten up on ourselves. And you guys put a different spin on sobriety for me. And I had not ever heard it, announced that way, taught that way. I've never heard it so non-judgmental, the way that you all come across it. And of course your story is so unique. So for those listeners that have not seen the episode 2 of the podcast, tell us a little bit about who you all are, how you're sitting here together, and just all the good stuff. Introduce yourselves, please.
I'm just looking, you're so kind. I'm like, is he talking about us? Somebody else there?
Absolutely, I am. I love y'all.
So, well, do you want us to start at the beginning of how we got together as?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Alex. I'm one half of the Sober Experiment. And I'm the other half. You can't decide whether to say the other half of the Sober Experiment sometimes, but yeah. So, we've known each other for over 30 years now. And we were kind of thrown together. So my dad and Lisa's stepdad were drinking partners, that they both owned pubs. They'd known each other for a long time. And Lisa's mum and my mum met through our dad and stepdad. And it was at my mum's barbecue party, and Lisa's mum said, oh, I want you to meet my daughter. So Lisa ended up staying at our house. We were just thrown together. You're sleeping over the night. And honestly, I can say, I mean, we've had periods where we're not in each other's pockets, but we have been in each other's pockets. And we just clicked instantly. So as far as our friendship goes, it's pretty much always been the same. We were best friends then, we're best friends now. We don't always agree on everything. We're quite different.
We've found this more, I think, since being sober, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, we thought we was like exactly the same, and actually we're completely
the way that you all come across.
Yeah, and we get kind of not irritated by each other, because what will happen is
hold on a minute, see what's
no, one of us will say to the other one, oh, well, I don't think you do it this way or something like that. And then a little bit later in the week, the other one will do exactly the same. You're like, oh, actually, you know what? We're the same. So we're the same but different. And yeah, I guess our drinking together started in our teens, experimenting the usual stuff, buying bottles of cider and kind of very strong cider, drinking in the park, drinking on the street, drinking on the buses, drinking at discos, just drinking.
a lot of drinking.
Yeah. And I guess look, and drugs really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were some drugs in. And then looking back on that, it was just normal. That was just normal, because because of where we lived, and we were like in an underprivileged upbringing, and we, you know, what we call the council estates here is where I grew up. I guess the best way I could kind of, it's like your associate housing, where you have like almost like not quite the same as the projects, but
Right.
state funded. So we came from that kind of background, and we didn't know any different. So that's what we did. That was the only thing to do. There were no kind of healthy places to go. You just drank with your friends and you drank with each other, and that was that. And then as we entered like early adulthood, Lisa's mum owned another pub, and we actually ended up working together behind the bar. Well, that was just like amazing, because we got to do our favourite thing.
Right.
Yeah, we loved it.
Yeah, so, you know, we'd be behind the bar, and we were a great duo behind the bar, and people would be like, oh, get yourselves a drink. And you know, like most bar staff, I don't know how it is over there, you get a tip and you put it in your tip jar. We put it and had it. So, you know, we were all kind of half cut. Really.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we didn't realise, thinking about it, and you know, we surprise ourselves all the time, but actually we was probably very drunk for a long time without even realising it. We was permanently had alcohol in our system, because we would be working behind the bars, then we would be going out, and then we'd have other jobs in college and uni and things like that.
And then you went quite early, didn't you? And that changed things then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so then it went to kind of taking a bottle of wine round to Lisa's house, or Lisa coming to my house, and it became a bit more sophisticated drink. We had to learn to drink rosé, you know. So yeah, we became, you know, cosmopolitan readers with our wine, and you know, like we had to learn to like wine instead of our alpha lager, and that changed over the years as well. And then we'd just be like drinkers with dinner, and then we'd be, oh, kids are in bed, let's go out, you know, the kids are safe, let's go out. So then it became our time, our weekend. And what started out probably, you know, not unhealthy, but normal-ish for us. I guess it was always unhealthy, because both of us used it very differently than our friends looking back.
Yeah.
But it just very quickly descended into weekend binge drinking, and put us both in a really dangerous place, separately and together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'd drink together, then we'd end up separated. We'd be wandering around like quite dodgy areas separately, getting in different taxis. We'd lose coats, lose money, lose shoes, lose bags, you know. And then because there were two of us, always one of us would have done worse than the other. And that's how we would enable each other and justify each other's behaviour. It'd be like, sorry, I did worse this week, or sorry, I did worse this week. And yeah, I guess we fast forward. You take over then, because you'd had enough, hadn't you?
I'd had enough of you and our drink. No. I hadn't. I think, my life took quite a different turn, and I'd left my first husband, remarried, and he was a very, very big drinker, and I found that I was enabling. I think looking back, I was an enabler, and he was an alcoholic, and I found that I was drinking. But what I was doing is I was going out with my friends. I say friends, they were just people I found to drink with a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now, so they weren't really friends. But I was going out like going, oh my God, he's drinking this and he's doing this whilst drinking, getting drunk, and I was getting myself into some really, really dangerous situations. But like Alex said, I was using it as, because then I was kind of in and out of a relationship. I was like splitting up, and it was just really complicated. But I've now at this point got 3 teenagers. So my eldest daughter is just, I can see, she's just like I was, and she drinks in a way when I was a teenager for the same reasons that I did, and I've got to kind of deal with that that's learned behavior from what she's doing. And when I've been in a bad situation, I've got the can you swear on here? But I don't
I'll swear for her. She's got the fuck it switch.
So, you know, when everything's going a little bit upside down, I'd be like, oh, F it, I can't do it now. No, I've talked to her, I can't do it. But I'd be like, oh, F it, I'm going out. And that's how I drank. And she kind of does the same thing now. But then my younger 2 were going through a real, you know, they were obviously dealing with my relationship breakdown and other things. In the area that we lived, there was a lot going on about criminal exploitation and drugs and drink, and my youngest were really trying to deal with that as well. And I was running away. I wasn't stepping up. I wasn't being the mum that I should have been. I was panicking and thinking, I don't know how to cope with this. So I was drinking more and more then to deal with it. And then I was hating on myself, and I was disappointed at my parenting, my life, it just went really bad.
Shame cycle.
Honestly,
cycle. Yep.
Yeah, and you can't get out of it, could you?
I just felt like I couldn't get out of it. And then I was doing things that were just, I'm so passionate about health and well-being and positivity and the universe and all these amazing things. And everything I was doing just wasn't aligning with the real me. And although I might be drunk in somebody's kitchen, giving it all, you only live once, we're only going to get this moment once, let's like, oh, do you want some cocaine? Oh, go on then, I'll have a bit. And it wasn't, that's not me, that's not what I'm into. And I just had enough, and I needed to step up and be the person that I knew somewhere deep down was like trying to get out. And I made the decision after a month. I spent a late night in somebody's kitchen, got drunk, couldn't make it to work, told my children, was like, oh, if you go and get me some water, you can have the day off school. Like, what the hell? And that morning I thought, this has got to stop. So I decided that I would initially take 100 days off drinking. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I put it on my social media because that meant it would really happen.
Yeah.
I can tell people out there, and I don't go back on things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I came to where I stopped drinking.
Yeah. And then she phoned me on that day, and I just couldn't. I was trying to be a really good friend by saying what I should say as a friend. Oh, congratulations, I'm really pleased for you, well done. And there was no way it was going to change our friendship for me. I wasn't going to, depend on drinking, but there was a huge part of me that was disappointed. In honesty, I was my drinking partner, and all of a sudden, oh hell, if she stopped drinking, she drinks like me, so shit, what does that mean about me?
Right, I'm out here by myself, Yeah,
and what does it say about my drinking? If she thinks she's got to stop, does she think I've got to stop? Does that mean I do have to stop? So it started this turmoil, which lasted honestly about a year. I stopped drinking 11 months after Lisa. So she's going happily sober, and I'm watching. We didn't drift apart, but there were aspects of our life that were completely unaligned now. So I'm still drinking at weekends quite heavily. Lisa's enjoying the sobriety and battling with the beginning. I had no idea what she was going through. She really didn't have anyone. She didn't have any friends that were sober, any support network. So unbeknown to me, she's joined sober groups on Facebook and was just using it as her journal and her social network, trying to get through the early days.
Mm-hmm.
Obvious. And maybe after Lisa had been sober for about 4 months was when things, we've talked about this before, and I really hope trigger anybody here, but we need to be honest about the story.
Yeah, we'll give a trigger warning. Yeah, everybody, just understand, that's what we're talking about today. And there is I'll put a trigger warning out. I didn't think about it and I should, but I think we're all, pretty grown here, and I don't want anybody in new recovery to be triggered, but we got to be able to talk about it honestly, and we're all, in a lot of ways, and I don't mean to be insensitive, because I think everybody here knows my heart. I think that we have got to feel it to heal it. And sometimes the trigger is not the worst thing in the world that can happen. Many times it is the best thing, because it allows you to sit in a moment where you're in the middle of a life transforming story. And it's not like when that trigger happens, now you have to get up, because everything, as we know, starts as a thought first. So the trigger is the thought. The action comes under the thought. And, there is still nothing on earth that can pop you up out of the chair and make you go use or get the drink. And so I want us all to be able to talk here like adults, and to be able to talk in the ways that are real. I think when we dance around some subjects, we get too sensitive, and a lot of us get too used to not dealing with the hard things. And we will never, ever make it, oh no, Alicia Lee, I know that. No, but we will never, ever, ever get to where we're trying to go in this world and in this collective societies in recovery if we don't start jumping into some of the things that make us uncomfortable. That's where the healing is. But I think that it's all from a really good place. We feel it in our heart to not want to, we all so desperately want to help people with everything we do. And so it makes us, people like us, feel extra sensitive, like we don't want to harm people. But I think that what they have to understand is we're also the people that will wrap you in, hugs and love and support and all that. So, I want you to talk plain and open and clear here. That's what I want.
Before you do, can I just pick up on something that you said there that I think is really important? Like when you said you've got to feel to heal. I'm all over that. I love it. I remember somebody saying to me, feelings healing, and it stayed with me forever. And it's so hard sometimes, and it's not nice. And we've just got to remember that we can do these hard things. And it's important to feel, and if there's a way we can kind of find a little bit of gratitude, I suppose, that we can feel that, because if we didn't feel hard sometimes, we wouldn't ever feel so good. But feelings healing, I love that.
It's all right, you're good at that bit. That's the bit I wouldn't be able to do. Right. So about October time, so Lisa had been stopped since the July, and in the August, I'll go back a little bit, because in the August I'd had quite a big argument with my husband. Now, he'd gone out, and we were supposed to be spending the bank holiday weekend together, and he'd gone out, and so I sat at home and drank probably 3 bottles of wine on my own in self-pity. And when I used to drink, it brought back, and I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I did a lot of self-pitying. And I used to go over my childhood, my dad being an alcoholic, the domestic violence that I witnessed, and I used to play it and play it and play it. And I've never really dealt with it. I'd never actually been to any counselling or therapy for it. My dad had died after being sober for 10 years, and that was years previous. So I had all this stuff wrapped up, and I was never getting it out until I drank wine, and then it would pour out in bitterness. So I had never learned as a child how to deal with conflict in an adult way, and I just threw tantrums. That was what I did. I'm still great at it, but I'm getting better because I know I do it now. So he came in through the door, and he just had a good time. He was doing nothing wrong. He was making himself a sandwich, and he was being a little bit giddy, and I was just so angry, and I picked up this sandwich and the plate and threw it at him. And he just looked at me and he said, "That's the last time you're ever going to do that. if you get drunk like this again, I'm leaving you. And I just knew he meant it, because I'd done things like that before. And I got up the next morning and I phoned Lisa, and this was in August, and I said, I have to stop drinking. I can't carry on the way that I am. I'm going to ruin my marriage, my mental health suffering. I don't know what to do. So she said, I'm going to help you. So we started off, and I read The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober.
So excited.
Yeah, she was so
I know you were.
I was trying to drill everything into her. Right, you need to read this, and you can go on this, and you can, because you just.
I know.
What I've learned now is you can't really do that.
No, I know.
You want to give everybody all the information that you know. I know, but I wanted you to be like, I wanted you to be at the point I was at.
To get the same point. My wife, I'm telling you, we've talked about this before. My wife was at that same point. We have different recovery times, and now she's just getting into her awakening time. And so now I'm like, oh, you got to get this and listen to this and listen to this. It's like I want to take a thumb drive and go, Mear.
Yeah, that's what you wanted to do.
Exactly what you want to do. It's overwhelming,
But then it was a week into that, and I think a really good bad thing happened to me. I found out I was pregnant. So I completely took my eye off the ball. I'd already had 3 children. I had never drank in my pregnancy. So all of a sudden, this takes off the pressure for me to do any self-development at all. I'm pregnant. I'm not going to drink. And I just stopped thinking about it, and it solved the problem at home because I wasn't drinking. All of those things went right. And 3 months later, I had a miscarriage.
Oh,
and
wow.
I found out at the hospital appointment that I was going for my scan that I'd had the miscarriage at the scan. And as soon as they told me, I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat, and it had only happened the day or two before, I went to the pub. I am ashamed of this, but I think it's important to speak through shame as well, because it helps me. And I am ashamed of this, but I went straight to the pub, feet are still in position, and I got absolutely wasted to blackout. Wasted like I've never been in my adult life. And the cycle just started all over again. I had to have surgery, obviously, and so many other things happened. And I was in a really bad place until about the May of the following year. And around the May time, when it was my birthday, I phoned Lisa and I just said, I'm not doing it. I want to do this again. I really want to stop drinking now. I've got to do it. And she said, you will do it, but just do it when you're ready. And I had few more weeks of it, and in the June I woke up with a hangover from hell. I was like, honestly, I'm sorry, I'm not very politically correct, everybody. I was walking around like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, being sick on the floor and just in a really bad state. And I said, that's it, I'm done. And that then was at the point where I became sober as well. So that was 11 months after Lisa.
Wow.
A month after that, we started the Sober Experiment talks.
Oh, we got straight in there, weren't we? Straight in. Like, you want to do this forever? Okay, then.
Yeah, let's do
it. Let's start a business, and then you can never go back.
Well, that is one of the things, because it does give you quite a large bit of accountability, and especially as it grows, there are times when, I don't say, and I'm so grateful for this, I don't necessarily ever struggle with wanting to use or go back to that life at this point. But sometimes when I want to sit in my own misery and my own self-pity and different things like that, it gives me motivation to say, you know what would I say to any one of these people that I talk to on a daily basis? What would my advice be for that person that I care about so much? And it comes back to that self-worth and that self-love and that, learning how to give ourselves. And Alex, what I heard in some of the story that you were sharing just now, what really, really happens so many times in our brains when we have those big, overwhelming issues, we go back to that place that we know, even if we know it's bad for us, it's killing us. It is that default programming that it's so much easier to cope in a way that and that's the way our brains are designed to do what we know versus being afraid of the unknown. And I think with not having a whole lot of experience there, not a lot of time under your belt there, that's almost like an of course, like that's a big thing, hard for a lot of women to go through and deal with. And I know that a lot of women will be able to relate to the pain of that story. And I love that you talk through the shame, because I'm sure there are plenty of women that feel that same shame, that this happened and I used after that. Because how do you begin to cope when you've got this many healthy coping skills and this one go-to that is going to erase that pain for a moment?
Definitely. And I think the thing to remember is as well, the longer you are sober or clean, the bigger your resilience gets, because the bigger your toolbox gets. And it's, I know you won't know this, but a couple of months ago, I had a second miscarriage. And the way I dealt with that is completely different. Like, of course I still grieved. Of course I still felt the pain. But you know what? Not one part of it made me go back. And that was, I'm not a different person, but I've rewired my thinking.
Yeah, that's valuable to say.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I can't see any good coming from going back to something that was unhealthy in the first place. Whereas before, you don't know that until you've been through the joy and you've got to a good place. You don't know how good it's going to get. I don't think you believe it's going to be as good as it is. So and once you're in that place, nothing. I honestly don't think any life event could send me back there now.
I feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel exactly the same. And I think you're so right. And that's so beautifully and gracefully said, because you're right. We gotta even out the scales there to have that, to have that, to be able to know that enough to know that it's not worth it. And that's why I believe that I think we've got to move past the thing that we tell a lot of people in new recovery is that, relapse is part of recovery. Well, I don't think that we necessarily need to tell people that coming in the gate, because we're not understanding what the subconscious and the conscious and the brain and the mind and the way that is wired for someone in active addiction. That gives someone a subconscious out that says, okay, well, at least I can still hold on to this. So there's so many things. And this is one of the other reasons that I really love to connect with you all, because we are so on so many of the same pages with the different brain tricks and the brain hacks and how important it is to sobriety and recovery. Because if you don't retrain the very machine that got you where you're going, where you were, you can't, you can use all the muscle in the world if you want to. I often use the analogy of, I live by the ocean. So many times when you're in the ocean, you can stand as strong as you want to. The wave is still going to just pummel you into the ground. But if you learn to move with and jump with the wave, you have to learn to be fluid with that wave versus trying to hold it back. And many times I think that we're moving away from the model that says just abstain and you'll be fine. Oh my God. That's like trying to hold back, water in a dam with your hands. It just doesn't work. Then you get into the shame cycle.
Well, especially if you're making that a painful experience as well. If you're clinging onto that through sheer willpower, then what you're telling your subconscious is there's no reward.
That's right.
Punishing yourself.
Yes.
To get the one thing that you're striving to get. And I read it described really well, actually, that if you imagine the conscious brain, that's your kind of snap decision maker. You can make decisions all the time, and you think briefly and you do them. But your subconscious, you kind of, that's the bit that's making you breathe and your heartbeat and all the rest of it. That's really a well-rehearsed, very deep part of the brain that's just used to doing what it's doing. It doesn't require any input from you particularly.
Where did we read this?
I've no idea.
I know what you're saying.
I can't remember now. We've read a lot of things. But the way that I really love this is, if you imagine like the reward is the feeling good, then what you're used to is the shortcut through the woods, the bit that's like a proper path that people have walked for years and years and years and years. And it's easy. It's easy to walk that, to pick up the drink and to get the reward of feeling temporarily, albeit.
Yeah.
What you have to do when you're rewiring your brain is actually make a new path. And that takes a lot of hard work. You've got to cut back the weeds, you've got to dig the ground, you've got to move step by step.
Yes.
To the same point of happiness. And it takes time, but when you've made the effort to make the new path, the reward is much, much better because you've put in the work. And that's what rewiring your brain really is.
Absolutely. Hear that, warriors. I just want you to hear that. Like, hear that, hear that, hear that. Because there's nothing ever that says recovery is easy, because it's not. But blazing that new path is so rewarding, because now your life is changing. You know, like that, you start to see the evidence of that in areas of your life that you're not even particularly working on. You know what I mean? Like that evidence, that rewiring of that one neuro pathway absolutely affects so many other places in your life. And once you start kind of getting off, so to speak, on seeing these amazing changes happening in your life, and just like, you know, your story of the miscarriage, and I'm so from my heart, you know, just would give you the biggest hug. And I am so sorry that happened to you. And at the same time, I must honestly congratulate you on being able to share that, and that you worked a different tool in your toolbox that sometimes we don't know if our tools work, if we just collect them all and never have to use them. And so, you know, it started there, and that soul cycle, that healing happened there. And, you know, that's so absolutely extraordinary. And I love that even that didn't send you back. And from that one place, that one new path, it gives you this motivation for life. If you didn't use there, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, what okay. And a lot of people may say, you know, you can't say stuff like that. You're getting too cocky. You're going to find yourself in a relapse. But that's what true healing is. True healing of the roots of those places equals true healing. It equals, I don't have that pathway. That pathway is not lit up anymore. I might not find that.
And if you look at it in the same analogy that I just used, in time, the old pathway overgrows again, and you never want to go back down that and put in all that work to undo what you've done. So it's quite a nice analogy to get your head round.
Beautiful.
It's the how you do the new path that's the real work, though.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk to you ladies about at this point, because, you know, we share a lot of the things. You know, so talk to us about some of the ways that you ladies have found that have been really helpful and basically kind of quick, you know, versus that you got to beat it this one stick for 12 years or 13 years. Talk to us about some of your ways.
Well, I think the first one is you've already touched upon it, and that's you are not your thoughts. You don't act on your thoughts. And if you can start to see your thoughts and your cravings as an object away from yourself and dissociate yourself from that thought, you can start to realize that you don't have to do what the thought's telling you to do.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of doing it. You know, some experts say if you turn that thought into a black and white image and put the things that you want in color in your mind, that's one. Another way is to say you imagine it as an animal, like a real physical elephant in the room. And when the elephant comes to visit, you say to the elephant, go away, not today, you know, and you make it walk away from you. So there's actual really little quick tricks that you can do to just deal with the in the moment craving. That on its own isn't going to do anything long term. But if you do that long enough, you recognize those thoughts coming in. So, you know, the way you talk to yourself, if you can catch yourself when you say, oh, I need a drink, with, oh, I need a drink. Okay, I need a drink. And you can actually catch that thought and think, right, what is that thought really? Do I need a drink? Why do I need a drink? What is the stress in this situation right now, or the joy in this situation that is making me think I need to drink?
Yes.
Now, what would the drink do to this situation? Would it make it better? Would it heal it? Would it stop it? And that's where then you can start to unpick where those trigger points are and where those cravings are coming from.
Awareness.
So that's a really kind of quick tour around the kind of work that we do with each other as well, you know, and with some of the people that come to us and say, I've got a craving and I'm going to act on it. Well, are you really going to act on it? You know, put yourself a list together. Lisa tells people all the time, put yourself a list together of non-negotiables, don't you?
Yeah, I love that one, the non-negotiables before you go and either use or pick up a drink, that you will promise yourself that you'll either just write a sentence on a Facebook group, or you'll phone somebody that you care about, or somebody that you haven't seen for ages. You know, just kind of promise yourself 5 things that you will do before you go and use. But for me, something that has massively worked, and it's something that I've practiced all my life, is mindset and positive thinking and being kind to yourself, and, you know, treating yourself. And it's really hard, and looking after you can be so difficult. And something that I learned, or what somebody taught me about, and this was weird because I'd been to my cousin's house and he'd actually got some pictures of us when we were really little, and it came inside. The universe works in funny ways, doesn't it? Because at the same time I'd listened to a podcast, and somebody was saying, if you've got a picture of yourself when you're little, what would you want for that little girl or that little boy, or, you know, what would you want? What would you talk to them? If you know, and I think sometimes if you can find a picture of yourself, it makes me dead emotional, because honestly, because it's just such a nice thing to do. Or
Powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, really powerful. Like, what would you really want? And you can see it then differently, because we have things like, there's a stigma about being nice to yourself, and in these things where little children, you know, and they like go and they look in mirrors and say, look how beautiful I am, and then people laugh at them, and it kind of takes it away. And it's so bloody hard to do. So affirmations for me, meditation, and that's kind of my go-tos each time. Meditation in particular, I find a lot easier to do when I'm sad than I do when I'm happy. I've got to really work at that when I'm in a good.
But that's really, I'm so glad you said that. I've never heard anybody else say that. I just think that way, and I've never understood, like, you know, why is it so much easier for me to really dive into meditation? I'll sit there for an hour if I'm, you know, if I'm sad or if I'm going through something. But it seems that, you know, when things are good and happy, it's easy to kind of, let it slip by today and those things. And I wonder, sometimes, I was thinking of this morning, in fact, because I was questioning this in my head this morning. I thought, well, I wonder if my lack of meditation during those good times is actually bringing me to these very sad times where now I have to stay in this, and you know, I'll never know. But you guys, it's so important that what both of you are talking about, as far as, you know, number one, we got to become aware and becoming the observer of a thought and separating identity, because that's my big thing about, you know, with saying I'm an addict. I don't like to say that, because I have now learned the power of the I am and the power of identity. And one of the things that helped me, well, it was the place that I had to start, because my whole identity was wrapped around being victimized as a young child. And it just seemed to be how my life was paved out, and being inherently different, born different, then having on top of that, you know, all of these different abuse, this feelings of, you know, there's so many things that happen in childhood, and people think, oh, it's so cliche, everything doesn't go back to childhood, but it really does, because
it really does.
You were born pure consciousness. You were born pure love. And from there, you start, all of your foundations begin to be built, your belief systems, the way you associate. And everybody can think back to childhood and realize that children take everything upon themselves. Everything. Yeah. If they see their caretaker smile, they say, I did that. I did that. I'm making them happy. If they see them sad, inherently a child says, what did I do? Why is why is daddy not happy? And then what do we tell our children these things? And it's before we knew. I didn't know. We tell our children things about money when they want things. We say, trees, you don't deserve that, or you haven't been this, or they go get a big tub of whatever, get 3 toys, and you don't deserve all that, or you can't have all that. What do you think I'm made of? Money. That starts beginning to build our belief systems. It starts from the time a child gets here. The adults in that life start kind of destroying the magic because they believe in anything and everything. I think what we're doing right now in our lives is we're learning how to get back to that. We're learning how to believe that everything is possible, that the only limits that we truly experience are the limits we put upon ourselves. And it takes time, like you ladies are saying, it takes time to find those beliefs, find those roots, break them down, and start rebuilding them in different ways. But it can happen. The neurolinguistic programming, what Alex was talking about, for warriors that don't know, is basically Alex talking about programs that's called neurolinguistic programming, which really has been a go-to for mind. The one that I use all the time is sitting in the movie theater and seeing, my thoughts on the screen and having to, get bigger and bigger until they go and out. And then I know we share the emotional freedom technique, the EFT tapping, which is very, very easy to do and produces such a great feeling. I tap all the time for my one. And I started that in probably my second year of recovery, when I didn't know what to do. I was wigging out. I was already on medications for anxiety. I was on medications for depression. I couldn't figure this out. So I started reaching outside of myself for things that were not medication surrounded. And because I just couldn't take anymore, I was like, I can't take any more medicine at this point, so what am I going to do? That's when I discovered tapping. And, I think that maybe if you ladies will come back on our show one time, we'll do a tapping session for people that are here. I'd love to have you guys on and do that, because I think that it's time that we step out of the old paradigms of what recovery is, what it's not, that it's got to be this drab, experience. It's just what you said, there's no reward to it. You're just, exerting strength, and everything and everyone gets tired of just doing that. You drop your hands, and then when you fall back, you get mad at yourself. You shame yourself. You guilt yourself. And it is up to us and those of us with platforms to bring this new paradigm about that says, hey, this doesn't have to be such a daunting task. There are so many things and ways we can do this. And I love to see, I get to use the word. It's such a feminine word, but I'm going to use it. I get pure giddy when I see some of the posts that y'all put up in the mornings, because I'm like, I know this is what I'm like, yay.
Yeah, I mean, that's another part of it as well, like this whole, one thing that we both do, and we did this before we even knew that it was a thing, is we reframe everything. But this is an actual NLP technique that you can do in 2 minutes. So, in the early days when you think, oh, I can't use, or, oh, I can't have a drink, just stop, take that thought and reframe it, and think about all the good things that will come from you not doing that. So rather than the I can't, reframe it. And we started doing that really early on, and that's where a lot of our posts come from. We do laugh at ourselves, we laugh at other people as well, but we especially laugh at ourselves. We don't laugh other people. We do
laugh with them.
at them, but we do laugh at ourselves a lot. And if so it's we're not for everybody. And somebody said this to us the other day. We absolutely love your methods, and we can imagine you're not for everybody. No, we're probably not, because we haven't got a serious bone in our body, and that's so much easier for us because we both have down days. We know how hard it is some days. I phoned Lisa up crying and said, I just want to drink some wine. And she's gone, no, you don't. Do you like hangovers? Do you? Do you like that? And I go, no, I don't suppose I do. And we just, that's our way. That's what we do. We just take the mick out of each other and our weaknesses.
We do. And I think it's so important to concentrate on all the amazing things. You know what? Life can be hard. Bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
We've got to concentrate, because you know what, for every single bad thing, and this can be really, when things are going wrong, it can be really hard to be grateful for things, but there's always something to be grateful for, always, no matter what it is. And I think and some people don't want to be grateful, they want to be bad. No,
I know.
They do. They're like, no, it's rubbish, and
Can I tell them about when you with the windows, when your windows went through and you phoned me up and you were so upset? I'm going to do it.
Go on.
That Lisa had her windows put through one time while she was sober and not massively way into it, and she was so devastated. She was already going through a really shitty time, and then the windows got put through, and she had no windows at all in her front room, and she phoned up crying. And she was like, my life's falling apart. Everything's really bad. And in the middle of these sobbing tears, she went, but at least the roof's still here.
I'll tell you what I did here, right? This is something, and my mum was really proud of me of this. In my garden is now beautiful. It's full of flowers. It looks like absolutely stunning. And in the front garden, there's a lot of painted rocks, but they're actually bricks. And the bricks that came through the window, long story, it'd take a whole nother podcast that, but the bricks that came through the window, me and the kids painted, and they have the words happy. And we painted these bricks and they're in the garden. And I'm like, you will not be down.
That's great. That is great. Well, gratitude is the absolute ingredient, first and best ingredient for hope. I mean, I think like it's the most important ingredient for hope, and gratitude has the power to really change a life. It's changed mine. Most people know my story is that I started there, and I was one of those people that I was addicted to the suck. I was addicted to the anger. I was addicted, and I didn't really understand why until I started taking it apart and realizing that it was almost like a high. Like everything is rushed out at once. And, I didn't even realize it until I started like taking things apart and reframing things. And, and my son, I was seeing him start to exhibit this behavior as well. And I had the nerve to be pissed off. And I'm like, how can you get pissed off? Like, what? And I decided I was not going to be a hypocrite anymore. And then I started with that one exercise, a Bob Proctor exercise, where he said, make a list of 5 things you're grateful for. And I was like, no, I was so focused on everything that was going wrong. And so by the end of that exercise, I wrote down one thing, and I really had to like struggle to find it. And from that day, my life has never been the same. Doing that on a daily basis, it really turns your perspective into starting to, it's almost like a game. It's almost like a game where you start trying to find, okay, this sucks, but this is really awesome. At least the roof is still on, at least,
It's true.
I got these beautiful painted rocks now.
Sorry, when if I'm driving somewhere and it's like not a nice place, I do it with the children in the car as well. I'm like, right, find the beautiful. What can you see? Like, look at that tree there. And I think it's so important. It really is.
It truly, truly is. It really is. Man, I am so grateful to have you guys come back with me today. We're going to do this. We're going to have to do this again. I will rope you two back here again. you're going to get tired of seeing me because I could have you here all the time. But, thank y'all so much for coming on and sharing what you've shared with this audience today, man. I love the people that show up and come to see the videos and do all and support the podcast and everything that I do. They're amazing human beings, and they really, really are hungry for change. So having you ladies come on and be able to give them something they can put into practice today, right now, that they can start to really see results means more to me than I could ever express, because I want every one of these human beings to obtain the healing and the happiness and the love and the grace and mercy that they're all looking and longing for and willing to do the work for. And there's some beautiful, amazing people. So tell all of them how they can get in touch with all of you. Make sure how they can find the Sober Experiment. I put it in the comments, but I want you guys to tell it.
Oh, thank you. So we've got the website, which is www.soberexperiment.co.uk. On Instagram, we are at Sober Experiment.
On Facebook.
And Twitter is Experiment Sober. Is that right?
Yeah,
There is another, the Sober Experiment. So we're Sober Experiment.
And you can tell anyway, because it's Alex and Lisa logo.
Yeah, it's our logo. You'll see.
Yeah.
Recognize it. Well, if you turn around, you'll recognize it.
Yeah, it's like the back of us.
Yeah, I remember that. Now, also, before we go, tell them some of the things that you guys are doing. I know you have the sober sessions that you do. Those are on the weekends, correct?
Yeah, we've got them all. We've just actually taken a break today. We've just recorded the last one today. So the idea of sober sessions was that we just put something on during lockdown to help the sober community have somewhere to go every week and just check in and have some, different topics and so on. And we've had guests on every week for the last 18 weeks. We have brought it to a close for now. We're not sure exactly when we're going to be back.
They're on our YouTube.
But they're all on our YouTube channel. Yeah, you can catch up on all of them. And there's been some absolutely amazing conversations, haven't there?
There's been some amazing conversations and guests as well. We've had some top authors on there from some of the recovery and quit literature, haven't we? It's been really, really good.
I saw that.
Nakoa Ambassadors was on there. Nakoa, you've got a Nakoa in the States. We've got a Nakoa over here. So it's the UK one, which is an children of alcoholics. Honestly, there's been so much going on with that. But yeah, then the usual, obviously, our podcast actually starts back. You're coming on it, aren't you, Anna?
I am. I can't wait.
So we're on season 2 of our podcast, and that starts back mid-August. So that's exciting because we've actually been sponsored by Luna Courses. So if anyone wants to do any kind of courses on NLP and life coaching and so on, Luna Courses is where we did ours. And they're sponsoring our podcast season. So
awesome. That's amazing, because I liked when I saw that you had the NLP certificate. I was like, okay, that's one I don't have. Like, I need that one. I've read the books, but I don't have the paper, the actual technique. I was like, cool.
Lisa, send you some stuff.
I'll send you the link for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But yeah, and other than that, it's just the business as usual. So we're still going out to the workplaces. The good news is, and as you were saying before, we are now international with our workplace thing. So because of the lockdown, it's forced us into Zoom mode. So yeah, we can bring our presentation anywhere in the world now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's right. Find the blessings in all the messes. You know what I mean? It's been an amazing kind of lockdown, as well. Really done some things. And so I'm so happy for you all. I'm so happy for you all. You deserve this success. And I know that this time next year, it's going to be even bigger than, you ever dreamed of, because what you're doing really helps people, and it really helps people learn to believe in themselves, heal themselves, and not just put down, alcohol or drugs. Not just that. It's a whole full body experience. And I just love you too. I really, really do. So great.
I love you right back. Yeah.
I love you guys. All right. So you guys have heard where to find Alex and Lisa. I want to thank everybody for showing up here today. Everybody that's going to watch this in the replay, if you would not mind, please put hashtag replay down in the comments when you watch it and share it out. Share it across your groups. Share it to all your friends. Let's let our entire world know the Sober Experiment and Alex and Lisa. You guys already know how much I love you. And guess what? I will see you guys again tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Anthony McCauley, the founder and CEO of Males of Distinction and Ladies of Merit, the author of 4 published books. And he is my friend, my brother. He's an amazing human being. So I want to see all of you right back here. Go get a lunch. Go do what you got to do. Be back here at 8 p.m. I love everybody. I love you too. And I'll see you guys soon. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.